Raise your horns high and let your spirit flow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show. Feel the rush, let the loudness grow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show.
Once you get to our oceans and our forests and our, let's say right where I'm at, the redwoods just down the highway, there's nowhere else in the world that has that. There's no other place that you're going to go to that has redwoods that look like that, or a forest that looks like that. So if you like that kind of stuff, this is the place to be. You tolerate the fucking, just like Aiken tolerates the shitty weather to stay in Ohio, I tolerate knucklehead leftists in order to stay out in my forest.
Chaining themselves to trees and shit.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing, as you know, Ruben, being in Oregon, is that we'll do some little more CMS politics. Is that Oregon is like 5 counties blue, and then like 15 or 20 that are all red. It's the only places that are blue are the cities on the I-5. Everywhere else, my county is all red. So what rightly or wrongly, it's just a bunch of good old boys down here who want to have their guns and their acreage and their farm, and they don't want to be messed with. So But yeah. And I like being where I'm at because I can shoot a few hours north and be in Portland and Seattle doing shit up in the Pacific Northwest. Or if I really want to jump in my rig and go 6 to 10 hours south, I'm in California, any one of those big cities, enjoying shit down there with people I know down there. So for me, it's a perfect situation. But I can tell you one place. If you put the gun to Evil's head and you said you have to go live in Chicago or go be Aiken's neighbor in Ohio, I guess I would be in Ohio with Aiken too. I wouldn't be in Chicago. The last place you're going to see Evil. So you would only see Evil in Chicago if you all are paying me like you're paying Gene Simmons.
Yeah, no shit. Oof.
Big bucks.
No.
So anyways, we'll see how it plays out this week in the news cycle and what the CMS gives you all next week. I didn't remember. Were they going? I know he said something. He does have a trip coming up. He said
he only mentioned the Sturgis one. I don't think think they have him tagging along
2
to
weeks,
SeaWorld.
SeaWorld. So that's another thing. So just throwing this out there is a weird thing that pops up in my head as a kid from the 80s. Like there are certain bands when you think of like the SeaWorld gig and you think of the band that would be on that stage, right?
SeaWorld?
Like what band? Yeah. So say the SeaWorld gig, the stage at the SeaWorld or the amusement park gig.
Yeah.
It's the 80s.
Would be Great White.
For me, I always think of Night Ranger. Night Ranger for me just seems like the perfect amusement park.
Or Loverboy. I mean, they have a big.
Yeah, that would be a very good one too. Yeah,
Loverboy.
So but for just kinds of bands, to me, I think maybe, and that probably because somewhere there was a fair somewhere in the 80s or 90s that I saw Night Ranger, so it feels like that's the band that should be for me at those places, the fairs, the amusement parks where there's rides and corn dogs and shit. And there's Brad Gillis right there.
Yeah, there you go.
He's lifting weights.
Yeah, he's lifting weights. He's looking fit and
working off the
posting
fair
about
corn dog. Yeah.
He's posting about it like a early 20s male or woman should. That's kind of
that's the cringe factor for sure, because that's I'm not knocking him. He's in shape, looks great for his age.
But we could tell that just by seeing him on stage. We don't need the ego post, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go.
Brad Gillis, I just did 20. Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, dude.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think Kelly needs to throw a drumstick at him from behind the kids.
Yeah, or something.
Suck up the fucking Instagram fucking workout.
It's like, knock it off. You're making us look bad.
You want me to sing Sister Christian tonight? Then get the fucking weights out of your hand, jackass.
But he's a great guitar player. I just wish he wouldn't do
fantastic.
that. I just wish he wouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's my point. And if you said tomorrow that Night Ranger's right here in my little town, going down there to go see Night Ranger because they always put on a hell of a cool show and they got the hits you want to hear. So I'm just saying that is a cringy look. He says, cut that shit out. Go to the gym and do what you want to do. We don't need to know about it. You don't need to be going, all this kind of stuff, dude. We don't need that. And what I'm saying is, like, go to his Instagram and then go to his drummer Kelly's, and you'll see the difference. Kelly shows you drum stuff or band stuff or the stuff you need to know because you're a fan of the band and him. You don't see him in the gym or fucking, I don't know, whatever he might do in his spare time. The guy might be into fucking golfing. You don't see video after video of his stroke on the back nine. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Let me see. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I do believe this is fact, but I forget. Early 90s. Night Ranger played out here, and they actually opened up for Hell's Bells, which is the female AC/DC tribute band. Which
I know. Yes.
I think what happened there is they just wanted the fuck out of town, collect their money, and get out. You know what I mean?
Could have been a flip the bands around.
It was one of those shows they picked up on their way somewhere else. Yeah, because
I
always
thought
that was weird.
Yeah.
I always thought that was
weird. There would be almost no chance that Jack Blades is going to be like, yeah, let me just go on before.
Yeah, well, go on. And it's probably smart too, because I think by that point everybody that the adults of drinking age were probably already shit faced, but they probably just wanted to avoid that. They wanted to make sure they got.
Again, there's probably someone on the side of the stage who's a guy like Evil going, "Hey, we got to drive 12 hours to get this fucking shit over with by 8:30 because we're on the road, boys." Or whatever. So.
Yeah, and Brad has to get his reps in before.
Yeah, he's got to get back to the hotel and get the workout in, and Kelly's got to call his wife. The guy, the keyboard player, got to change his beanie cap sometime, guys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
they always have a keyboard player.
Yeah.
Since back then, they had a guy who always has.
I want that guy. That guy, which he did keyboards for Van Halen.
It's a different guy, right? Yeah. So they must hire a guy and say, "Look like the guy."
Well, at that time, I think it was the same guy because it was in or 93 or something. So I think they had gotten the original. It was still mostly the original. Yeah, it was the original guys.
Okay. But now the guy that's in the stead is not the original.
No,
but
he's not the original.
But he looks like
he looks
like the original guy.
But I want the original guy, keyboard player, to form a band with the bass player from Huey Lewis and the News, the original bass player. Remember him?
Mario Cipollina. Yeah. So I'll tell you a weird story because I'm a bass player and I'm into these. I'm into these like nooks and crannies of rock and roll. So again, coming from Bay Area, Walnut Creek, Sacramento, California, in the 80s, Huey Lewis was the fucking biggest thing in our area almost. I mean, the guy had hits and was at the 49ers and the Super Bowls and singing the anthems and on the TV and in the movies with the back. I mean, the dude was a megastar. Right. And Mario, the bass player, in my opinion, growing up, was the dude who I thought looked the fucking coolest.
Yeah.
He always had the cigarette. He always had the sunglasses. He always had the
He looked like a hitman on bass.
Yeah. He was awesome. And so later when they lost him, and that was due to his drug addiction, he openly admits that. And that was that his brother had the same problem. And his brother was in Quicksilver Messenger Service, for those of you who don't know that, from the San Francisco 60s and stuff. And Mario was a hell of a bass player. So Evil being evil, not many people know this. There were rumors back, it was 2007 or 2008. It was announced that Huey Lewis was going to headline the California State Fair on this big Saturday night show. And that's probably, I'm going to say, somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 people, something like that, And they as usual, because it's a state fair, they sell it out in almost no matter which band it is. But especially if you're Huey Lewis, Tesla, some of these local acts, they're always going to draw the local people in extra, and it's going to be packed. I got word that Mario was going to be brought up on stage for that one show because he lived an hour and a half in the Bay Area and could drive over and be brought up on stage for 2 or 3 songs. And not many people knew that. And people kept telling me, Evil, you're fucking crazy. This guy hasn't played with Huey Lewis in 15 or 20 years and no one's seen him, and he's not going to get up on stage and do that. And I kept telling them, Mario has the suit. He has the bass. He looks the same. He's going to get up there and thump a couple songs. He's going to bust the cigarette out, and you're going to see it's the same Mario. So what happened is I get to the state fair, and my buddy who's doing security for the front of the stage, who still buddy, but does all these concerts, said, the beater pulled up. And I said, what? He said, the beater pulled up. I said, the beater? He said, and he points to this car. And this car's parked off in the back of the stage in this parking area, and there's this piece of shit car. He goes, "That's Mario's car, dude. He pulled up in that old 1966 Buick piece of shit or whatever it was. And he's got the bass gear in the back and he's got the shit and he's ready, dude." And I'm like, "Are you fucking serious?" So the rumor was true. My buddy confirmed he had got him to a dressing room. And sure enough, Mario got on stage, ladies and gentlemen. Look it up. California State Fair 2007, 2008, Huey Lewis. You will see an encore where
Nice.
Mario gets on stage. The crowd goes
I'm gonna
fucking
have to
ape
look
shit because
at
they
it.
realize, yeah. And Mario threw down 3 or 4 songs and it sounded just like, and he
Wow.
looked just like Mario, and like time had stood still. And people thought I was crazy. I kept telling them, and I was one of the first guys going, "Mario!"
Oh,
And everybody's like, "Why is he screaming for Mario? He's not here." And I was like,
yeah.
"Yes, he is. He's going to get
Oh,
on stage." And sure enough, he got on stage. So it was just one time, I think, where Huey let him kind of come back
right.
and get back with the boys and do it. And um, he's not. I'm surprised you brought him up. He's not known to a lot, but
No.
to
Right.
bass players, to us in the
Mhm.
'80s, he was a hell of a bass player, dude.
Yeah.
He's a solid bass. He's a hell of a musician, and quite frankly, him and Bill Gibson, the drummer for the News, were
Oh.
the heartbeat
Oh
of
yeah.
that band. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
100%. The horns and the guitar is all cool, but
Mhm.
that bass and drums was tight, dude. And they could do R&B, they could do rock, they could do all kinds of stuff, dude. And so, yeah, Mario
Nice.
Cipollina. He's an
There you
amazing
go.
bass player. He's still alive, I believe. He's sober now.
Yeah.
He's living in, I believe, in like San Rafael,
Oh.
California,
Okay.
Marin County area.
Nice. Oh, there you go.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. And then we end with Huey Lewis. Huey Lewis, who weirdly enough, he was buddies with Phil Lynott of Thin
Mhm.
Lizzy.
They toured.
And he
They
actually,
opened for him.
toured, open for him. And he's actually featured on Live and Dangerous. He does a harmonica bit in
Solo.
there. So yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of a weird combination, but when you get to hear the story of how they met and they became buddies and stuff like that, it's really cool.
Yeah, because the News would go over there where they were
Mhm.
not known, and they had to open for somebody.
Yep.
And Thin Lizzy, being Thin Lizzy over there,
Mhm.
was like, "Hey, come open for us," which seemed
Yeah.
like an odd pairing. But if you
Right.
actually, put the two bands together, that would have been a show I would go see,
Sure.
especially in those days. Both of those bands in some of their peak eras and lineups and stuff, for sure.
Mhm.
But that was kind of before Huey and them, I think, really broke in America.
Yes.
And once they broke in
Right.
America, then they were on to their own
Yeah.
thing. And I mean, if people can knock them, but
Mhm.
how many bands have Power of Love, dude?
Right.
And all Huey has to
Yeah.
do is go on stage anywhere and play that song, and every
Right.
person knows that
Yeah.
your grandma, your
Right.
grandpa, your aunt and uncle knows Power of Love because they know Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So there's people can knock him, but it's telling you, dude, like that is a guaranteed Huey's not doing this because of his ear problems. He can't hear right.
Yeah.
He can't sing in tune,
Right.
and it's a physical thing at his age he can't get over, and they haven't created enough technology to make it with ear pieces for him to actually pull a show off and not suffer. So props to him again for recognizing that
Mhm.
age and
Yeah.
health was not
When-
allowing him to
when
put
he
on a
needs to
proper show.
step away, even
Yeah,
though he didn't want
and,
to.
and rather than tarnish the legacy of
Mhm.
that band. And they've been giving you a lot of, if you're a fan like I am, they've been giving you a lot of archive stuff and deep things, track behind the scenes stuff, they've unreleased stuff, new stuff that they can do in the studio because he
Mhm.
doesn't have to have the live shit. He can studio, he can hear a little bit well enough to cut some vocals, but he's admitted that he cannot on a live stage sing in key
Right.
for you guys because he can't hear it, and that's just not going to work for a vocalist. And
Mhm.
so props to Huey, but I say anyone who's out there and knock him, dude, I would just say show me where your platinums records are for
Yeah,
these
right.
things. Show me where you're on the soundtrack to one of the biggest movies of the
And wait-
80s and multiple films and stuff.
And I don't
So,
think he's
yeah.
ever shit on any of his former bandmates.
Nope, not even
He's
Mario.
a classy
and Mario
dude.
and him,
Yeah.
Mario and him, even Mario said you can go on YouTube. There are some interviews with Mario. He does pop up once in a while, and he openly said it was his own drug addiction that led him
Mhm.
to leave the band. It had nothing to do with Huey. Huey just needed a reliable bass player to get on stage, and after a while, Mario admits being smacked out of his head and unable to perform. So there you
Yeah.
go. So
And then
and sadly, if you all know the story, that's how his brother died. And
Mhm.
Quicksilver Messenger Service was from heroin over there.
Yeah.
So.
Ugh. Yeah, that sucks. Well, it's better to end on a Huey Lewis versus ending with Chicago or something. some really fruity fucking band like that.
Does he not always shoehorn them right back in there?
It's
like
always it always comes. All roads always go back to Doc.
Aiken's mentioning a period where he heard this song and that song, and he goes, "And Chicago had 17 or 16 or 15 right then."
But I don't think Chicago ever had a big soundtrack tune like that. And I don't think Chicago ever sued another guy for plagiarizing a soundtrack tune that they ripped off from an original tune.
They basically stole Huey's song from Power of Love and this and that, and then moved it. Or no, it was the drug song. But either way, stole the song.
I want a new drug.
The Ghostbusters too.
Ghostbusters. Ray Parker Jr.
Which is so clearly Mario's bass line is like not even fucking I mean, and not to mention, again, go back to the Super Bowls with the 49ers, which I'm a 49ers fan. Who's singing the national anthem? Who's doing all that shit in front of the whole country? Huey Lewis, the news. Please show me where Chicago is doing that. We've seen Chicago do that. I don't know if Chicago could harmonize and get 5 guys on stage singing, a cappella barbershop style shit like Huey Lewis can. That's the thing that people knock him for, but also the thing that us musicians know makes Huey Lewis and them good is that they actually all paid attention that they all could fucking sing. Huey demanded you to be able to get on a vocal mic and sing background, otherwise you weren't going to be in the news. Right. So, yeah. I think Mario is the only guy who gets away with never singing a background. Right. Everybody else had a mic in front of him.
I wonder if I'll just mention this. I think what was it? It was Peter Cetera that did have a soundtrack tune for that Fruity Karate Kid.
Yes. And, I mean,
that's a
for that
song.
time period. That's my point. Yeah, for that period, for that movie, that's what they needed Cetera to make, and that's why.
And on a fruitier note, which one do you think is worse? I mean, if you had, which one is better? How's this? Better as far as soundtrack tune. Do you think that is a better tune, or what was it? Wasn't there a Robin Hood movie soundtrack that was it Bryan Adams, Sting, and Rod Stewart? Yep. Now, which one of those two would gun to your head? Which one do you think is the one you'd pick? Because you'd have to listen to it.
That's brutal.
I mean, they're both pretty awful.
Well, what's weird is if I went back to when the Bryan Adams song came out, there was times where I remember flipping, because back in those days, ladies and gentlemen, you only had so many channels, and so it was like MTV or VH1 or whatever that was it, for your music, right? And I remember they put on "Everything I Do, I Do It For," and I just want to go, wow! They keep playing it, and they played it. I can't even put into words how often you had heard that song during that year of time. It was just like, what guy is out there paying every motherfucker under the rock to play this Bryan Adams?
Yeah, that was probably heard more than the Peter Cetera, I think.
Yeah, but I'd honestly say I think the Peter Cetera song is actually, even though it's not as popular, I think it's kind of, in my opinion, I probably could tolerate hearing that a little bit better. But both of them are cringe. It's kind of like what was that movie with the guy from Back to the Future, who's Michael J. Fox? He was in the movie. Night Ranger did the soundtrack to the song.
Oh, Secret of My Success. Yeah,
Secret of My Success. There you go.
Oof.
Another one of those songs that was like, ooh, the worst of the Night Ranger.
That wasn't a good one.
So yeah. There was a period there where I don't blame them. They were all getting thrown good money from these record labels to put these songs on these movies, but sometimes the song didn't fit the movie, or sometimes the movie guys wanted a song that was not the band's best song, and they're like putting it on there. Hopefully the check was good, because that was definitely not a high point.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we got to close out on a high note. Well, maybe not a high note, but at least on a metal fucking note. Now, if we're talking soundtracks, what about the Priest Johnny Be Good cover? No, I was like, I'm not going to listen to that fucking thing.
Okay, that's like, if you said, there's guns right here, and you're like, Nostradamus, Johnny Be Good, Nostradamus, Johnny Be Good. I was like, just shoot me, just do it. I don't care. I don't want to hear either one. They're both horrible. The lowest moments of Priest. I mean, I'll go back to Rockarola and pull out tracks on the very first
Yeah.
Priest album that I can listen to any day of the week over fucking Johnny B. Good.
Johnny Be Good. And that was like the synth era too. So it was like the synth
Yeah, there
guitar.
was a period. I have a good friend of mine during that, or not long, in the early '90s after that area, where we were looking through the Priest albums, and we just kind of realized that there's this period with Ram It Down,
Mhm.
Turbo, where there's just like it just starts going like, what was that?
Yeah. But you
You can get
listen
a
to
good song or two off the album, but the rest of the stuff is like, what is? Oh,
but
yeah.
there's a lot of gayness happening lyrically in those songs. I mean, you think
That's
about
where
Turbo Lover, and then if you look on Ram It
Ram It
Down,
Down.
yeah, Ram It Down, and then Love You to Death, or yeah. I mean, we're at the tail end of that. He's getting whipped and he's screaming.
We
and
should have known. We
Yeah.
should have known when you read the lyrics to "Hell
Yeah.
Bent for Leather." We should
Yeah.
have known where Rob was
true, yeah.
taking y'all to lyrically, but we
yeah.
were still trying to pretend that he was a biker and that this might, because they didn't know, though, But no, that, like I said, by the early '90s, me and my buddies were looking at this album and going, "This
Yeah.
is some homoerotic weird shit going on with the artwork,
Yeah.
with the lyrics, and the music's not good." Like before,
Well,
we
you
saw
look
it,
at
right, 'cause
it,
the music
even
was
like
so kick-ass.
like Turbo. It's like gripping a gear shift. It's like, is that what's that supposed to be that he's gripping here?
Rob was grabbing something while someone was driving because
Yeah.
So
Oof.
and so it just gets to that period there where I'm like, it's kind of like up to that, like 84, 85, I'm cool, and then like all the way through there, and then until it gets to Painkiller, and then I'm Painkiller, I'm like, okay, now we're kind of back to something
Yeah.
I can listen to again. Now we're back to metal, and it's like
Right.
And even then, I can still say, if you really read in the lyrics of Painkiller, there's
Yeah.
things Rob's dropping in there
Yeah.
if you really read the words. And I never had a problem with that. I don't have a problem with Rob's
Yeah.
sexuality. I'm not the guy that ever cared what the fuck he was doing. I like this voice. I honestly, we should probably do this sometime. We're gonna have to do the top 10 metal singers. I'm gonna tell you
Ooh.
right now, I don't know if there's anyone. I think Rob Halford would be my number one
Number one
singer
guy.
of all time. Yeah, like if you listen to the range, the ability, the quality of the lyrics, the performance level, night in and night out, I'm saying who's better than Rob Halford? Maybe Ronnie James
Right.
Dio. That would be about the only other guy.
And that would almost be interesting because you'd have to have Halford, Dio, Tate, Dickinson. So the top four would probably
right kinda
be
there.
just the
Yeah.
mishmash. You just
those guys, yeah.
shift them around for everybody, I think.
And I did think of like right out because it is that second tier. I started going, well, who's in there? And I would think Phil Anselmo for me. I would think Tom Araya of Slayer is underrated for his vocals.
Where would Andrew Freeman fall on there?
I don't even know if Andrew Freeman.
You don't even know Andrew Freeman, Mr. Brittle from.
You don't know if he would be invited to the meet and greet after the show.
No,
he might not.
He would get shoved away by Mike Tramp.
What's funny is like I don't. You clearly have that history. I have no idea, but I've not heard anyone ever actually say to me something positive and good of an interaction they've had with him outside of him being on stage or something.
Yeah, no, just real quick. So basically what happened, Freeman got pulled into Bullet Boys. They couldn't use the name Bullet Boys. They Brand versus Brand, Band versus Brand is the ghost of what's his face.
Sweeto was doing this.
Yeah, so it was Jimmy DeAnda, Lonnie, the bass player, and Mick. And they got Freeman, who did a fucking great job. I saw them on one of the cruises, the only cruise they performed on, but saw both the performances, loved them, and then like a few months later, things fizzled. And with Mick, I had sent a request to Andrew and to Mick just because things kind of went south. And I was like, well, it'd be kind of cool to talk to them and see what happened because it was such a. I mean, he did a pretty good job covering the Bullet Boys stuff. It was basically all the hits. Anything that was worthwhile with Bullet Boys, they did it. 50-minute set times two. They did two of them. Yeah. And things went south. I reached out to both of them. Mick happened to get back to me, and I chatted with him. He didn't say anything bad about it. It just seemed like the guy was kind of overly sensitive, and it got weird, and they just kind of parted ways. And that was the extent of it. So I forget what he had done. I think it was the following Last in Line album he did. So one of the editors said, "Hey, anybody is interested in chatting with Andrew?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd chat with him." And he goes, "Oh, he doesn't want to talk to you because you spoke with Nick and you did that interview with him." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, whatever." I mean, again, it's like I didn't say what Mick said. Mick said what he said. You know what I mean? It's like what?
So take it out with me. Yeah, why you killed the messenger?
Yeah, but
And again,
it was eerily similar to the Dawkins thing, except the Dawkins thing
yeah,
got kind of twisted around by somebody that had no insight into what really happened. Where with Freeman, I think he's just overly sensitive, and he was like upset or whatever that somebody spoke with Mick and Mick said some stuff. That wasn't even bad. You know, at the end of the day, it was just kind of like that was the breakdown.
In the end, if he was anyone that had any, let's just say it, Evil's going to put it straight, balls, he would have said, "No, here's my opportunity to counter what Mick said. I'm going to come on your show, and if you give me that opportunity to speak my piece, Ruben, we're cool. I don't really. You're just the guy doing the interview, so you could present it both ways and let the fans sort it out." That's what I would do. But you know, there's always. We always get in this mindset as humans that there's a right or a wrong. Sometimes there's no right or wrong. Sometimes people the band broke up for multitudes of reasons that were all both legitimate on both sides and have sometimes nothing to do with each other, really. And so, and we as humans always really want to have this guy was the right one and that was the wrong one. Well, sometimes it's just they're both decide they don't like each other, and that might just be it. Bye, you know.
And I think if you go check out Freeman online on Facebook. There was a post he posted recently, probably within the last week, where it's him on stage with Vivian Campbell, the guitar player in Last in Line. And there was some kind of reference alluding to that was the end of the band or something like that. And it was just kind of like, dude, why do you need to do that? You know, it's like, and then he gets all these responses of, "Oh, what happened?" You know, it's almost kind of like somebody posting, you know, those cryptic messages online just to get the traffic of people asking him, checking in. Or is everything okay?
He needs a pity party to feel good about it.
So
I'm not knocking all singers. I'm just saying this is definitely one. Usually, you're going to find this in either two people in the band, lead vocalist, lead guitar player. Not so much in the guitar player usually as a lead vocalist is like that's usually where you see this activity. I don't know why. I'm not saying I have the Sigmund Freud degree on the wall. As you can see, I don't have a degree on the wall. I got stupid pictures, but it's something. There's something with these singers where they get so lost in the minutia of what they think that one person might be perceiving in the crowd, and then this is now going to affect my ability. I'm telling you, man. As a bass player, there's times where I'm just like, "What are you?" And I'm not knocking my currents here because the guy's got fine. I'm just saying there have been ones in the past where I was like, dude, I've met just as a mention as the total bar band. We had a guy one time that was singing for us for a good year or two and then walked in one day and said, "Tonight will be my last show." I said, "Today? You're telling me 3 hours before the fucking show that this is your life and you just made this fucking decision? How about you just get the fuck out of here right now and I'll sing tonight and we'll do the show without you because you decided to disregard us as a fucking band. We got 30 more dates lined up and you shit all over them because you decided out of the blue in your fucking front man head that you all of a sudden are going to go off." In this case, I won't even say, he went to some other Midwestern state where he thought he was going to go find a music career. And I hate to break it to
Nashville.
him,
He went to Nashville.
No, that would have been a smart decision because there's at least music there. He went to some state where there's no music. And I pointed to him, I said, "Name one band that's ever come from that town and that state." And he couldn't because there isn't, because no music has ever existed in this place. And if it does, it's a band rolling through in a Broadhouse bar and they're back out of town the next night. It's not because there's any musicality happening there. So a guy that, you know, God bless his heart, was following it, I guess, what his soul was telling him to do, but I've never heard anything from him again. And he's probably playing in that one bar in that one town, and that's his only gig. If that's what he wants to do, cool. But this is what frontmen do. And there was other guys in our band standing around with me looking like, "What? You decided to, like, before the show that this is the last show when you've already agreed on paper to pen and agreements that you're doing all this?" Okay.
Jeez.
So what I'm saying is, frontman singer guys are sometimes, you know, they're either the coolest guy Ronnie James Dio, down to earth, doesn't see himself as anyone other than another guy in the band, trying to make shit happen here for a band, or they're lost in their head, lost in their thoughts, and think the whole world revolves around them. Hold on. David Lee Roth.
Oh, yeah.
They have that mindset where the whole world revolves around David Lee Roth, and I am the party at all times, and everything must be the way I want it to be. Paul Stanley has gotten to that level where everything has to be revolving around Paul Stanley the way he wants it. Right. And those guys, when they get to that level, cool. But how can Andrew Freeman or someone here, Andrew Freeman, able to give you some advice? Call Vinny.
Yeah.
Whatever Vinny tells you to do, that's what you should do. Why? Because Vinny knows. Vinny has been in bands fucking Black Sabbath and Ronnie, dude. He's dealt with all levels of people much larger than you. Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler. So if he's saying do this or don't do that, or this doesn't matter, or this does matter, he probably has a pretty good clue what matters and what doesn't. He's been playing the fucking drums for 40 years in major bands, touring and making a living. So I'm just saying, if anyone's listening to anyone in that band, I would go to Vinny and say, hey, Vin, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? No offense to Andrew. I think that when videos I've seen of Last in Line, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind them there as the band. If I'm just listening to the music, I enjoy Vivian. I like Vinny. I like what they were doing. I thought that don't they have Phil Soussan, right, on bass?
Yeah, Phil's on bass.
And I think he's doing a fine job, and so I obviously liked it when it was Jimmy Bain, but so that's still cool. It's got Phil, and so what I'm saying, it's a strong band. So and I'm not Andrew sings. I think he's a good singer. I don't think he's a bad singer. He's a good singer. He's got a good voice. Just get out of all the other shit, dude. And if that shit's going on, just leave it off to the side. Don't post it on social media. Don't just leave that shit in the dark, dude, and have those disagreements backstage. And I mean, to threaten something like that, or to even suggest that Vivian Campbell has bigger things going on in his life, and even if it was that was something going on, do you think his first priority is going to be the thing that pays the fucking bills?
Or his health? He has fucking cancer.
That's my point. That's my point. He has bigger things going on. That's my point. Yeah. So he's got other things on his plate than whether Tight Pants is worried about his current role and Last in Line in the 30 shows we may do next spring. And he's got other shit, dude. If his health first, and then right after that comes, what does Def Leppard have on the calendar for me to get that big fat $1 million paycheck, boys? Then I can, after that, afford to go play in Last in Line. So just know your role. Shut your mouth. But respect where your role is in the hierarchy of this thing, and be thankful that there is no Ronnie James Dio, because if there was, they wouldn't need you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If he didn't write all those words to all those songs, you wouldn't have a gig, bro. So yeah, that's just my thing. So the fact that he even thought that for you, bro, over Mick Sweeta.
Yeah, that was weird.
He's way too deep in the thoughts, dude.
It was like, wait a minute. I was like, what did I do? But yeah, he's a character. And there's some he's a legend in his own mind. Which again, when you look at like you were just saying, it's like know your role and be realistic of where you're at in the pecking order of things,
Yeah, and I understand that they made Last in Line and they're trying to create new music and make it this thing, but it still is being paid for on the back of something that was created by a guy named Dio, that's really what you all are supposed to be paying tribute to. And when you do things like you're doing, or we hear things we hear behind the scenes about what you say and do, that's not Dio-like.
Right.
Like, I don't think Ronnie would support some of that.
No.
I think Ronnie would tell you.
Yeah. That's one of those things. If I'm Vivian and Vinny,
that's what
Phil,
I'm saying. The guy
I'd be like,
put their foot down a little bit.
Why don't we get
down
Tim Ripper
on
Owens? That guy doesn't ever
or have the heart to heart and say, you got to pipe it down and cut back on these social media posts, and you got to stop. You got your disagreements, cool, but keep them in the fucking dressing room, bro, and out of people's eyes and stuff. No, we don't. Yeah. So I'm saying, call Vinny and say, hey, dude, how should I approach this? Because Vinny's probably going to have some advice that would be best for you and for your band. And so, but again, God forbid someone call a bass player or drummer who's been on stage with Tony Iommi.
Yeah.
And ask him for some advice. He might actually have done this before on a higher level than you and know what he's talking about. So, but Vin's also one of those guys who's so like, he's actually so chill and stuff. You can tell in the interviews he's not going to be. He's not going to put his foot down and be that kind of guy. He's not. That's not his style. So.
All right.
But anyways, well, Andrew Freeman, we don't expect you to come up on the wrap up show anytime soon. But the door is open for Vivian and Vinny and Phil if they ever want to jump on the wrap up show and talk to us about what they're doing. So.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, kids, I'm gonna get back to evil stuff. I'm building some ramps outside. I'm getting ready. I think my idea. Don't tell Brother Wendell this, but my idea is I'm gonna someday I'm gonna pull up with these ramps on the back of a flatbed truck, and I'm going to jump his entire house in the HOA.
Well, good.
Somebody video it. Yeah, we'll broadcast it on the wrap-up show.
Nice.
All right, man. Until next week, we'll see y'all. Bye, kids.
There we go.
Raise your horns high.